Columbia River flows west between the states of Washington and Oregon. These two states have defined the point at which Interstate 5 crosses the Columbia River as a trouble spot. Here, southbound traffic backs up in the morning, and in the evening, northbound traffic is even worse. The problem was studied, and the study area evolved into a project area for what was to become known as the Columbia River Crossing. The CRC calls for the creation of a new freeway bridge and for the demolition of the existing interstate bridge. It also calls for a mixture of freeway widening, light rail over the river into Vancouver, and the demolition and reconstruction of freeway interchanges within the project area. If built, the CRC would be the largest public works project in the region's history, costing up to $3.6 billion. That works out to roughly $1,700 for each of the Portland metropolitan area's 2.1 million residents. So far, the CRC planning process has consumed roughly $100 million. But this is only a fraction of what the CRC is expected to cost.
Let it rain, let it pour, let it rain, a whole lot more. I've got those deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let the waves sweep along. I've got those deep river blues. My old gal's a good old pal, she looks like waterfowl when I get those deep river blues. And ain't nobody here to cry for me. Fish will go out on a spree when I get those deep river blues. I'm going back to muscle shows. Times are better there, I'm told. I've got those deep river blues. Give me back my old boat, all sailor if she'll float. I've got those deep river blues. If my boat sinks with me, I'll go down, can't you see? I've got those deep river blues. Now it's time to say goodbye. If I sink, let me die. I've got those deep river blues.
Planning for the CRC has mostly concerned itself with what goes on inside the boundaries of this project area. But there are alternatives to be found beyond these walls. For instance, one problem with the interstate bridge is that it has a drawbridge, and this can add to the congestion problem. One solution to this problem can be found just downstream from here in the form of the Burlington Northern Rail Bridge. The rail bridge has a swing span that allows river traffic to pass. In order to pass under both the high point of the interstate bridge and the swing span of the rail bridge, vessels have to perform a maneuver called the S-curve. This can be difficult for large vessels, so they frequently decide to pass through the drawbridge of the interstate bridge instead. One way to solve the S-curve problem would be to update the rail bridge with a center lift span. This would allow the vast majority of vessels to navigate through both bridges in a straight line, and by doing so would prevent most lifts on the interstate bridge. Remember that this rail bridge is vital to the movement of freight throughout the region and up and down the west coast. But freight moving over the rail bridge has one big advantage over freight on the freeways. It's not going to get stuck in commuter traffic. The I-5 Interstate Bridge isn't the oldest bridge in the area. And it's definitely not in the worst shape. The interstate bridge does need to be seismically upgraded, but the cost of that is cheap relative to the rest of the CRC. The lowest estimate for a seismic upgrade is less than has been spent planning the CRC. And even the highest estimate is less than any one of the 3 most expensive freeway interchanges proposed for the CRC. All this freeway construction will pour many new lanes into the heart of the region. Freeway capacity is a resource, one that tends to get used up as quickly as taxes can be found to expand it. It's a process known as induced demand. This island is home to a big box shopping center, which might explain why so many lanes are planned here, but those stores could very well be replaced in future development. Another reason for all the lanes on Hayden might have to do with a planned port facility that will replace over 300 acres of undeveloped land on West Hayden Island. Unlike most states, Oregon and Washington have growth management programs for the protection of farm, forest, and natural areas beyond the boundaries of their urban centers. But sprawl keeps on sprawling. We're on track to pour a huge amount of our region's wealth into a small section of freeway that could weaken our land use policies. We can certainly think outside this box. This region is capable of coming up with alternatives to massive freeway projects. If it wasn't, the Mount Hood Freeway would have torn through southeast Portland long ago. With the right alternatives to the CRC, we can preserve economic vitality, preserve our land, and stay true to our heritage of making smart transportation choices.
Thank